Freaky Friday is intended for adults and is a show featuring adult conversations. Topics may vary, but are focused on human sexuality, fetish, and topics of intimate nature. Some may feel uncomfortable watching this show, and some topics may take you out of your comfort zone. We encourage everyone to stay and learn, as we hope this is an educational show, but stress that viewer discretion is advised. And if a topic makes you feel uncomfortable, please do not continue watching. Welcome to Freaky Friday. Welcome to Freaky Friday, where we dare to talk about taboo topics like fetish, bondage, sex, vibrators, and more. This isn't your dad's Friday night programming, but your mom loves it. Welcome to Freaky Friday, hosted by Mr. AnderSiN, who is the unboxable, uncanny advocating creator known as the Indie Comics Devil, who will tempt you with his devilish tales of fetish, monsters, and more. Also the giver of free hugs and spanks. Also hosted by content creator Meredith Logring. You never know what's lurking inside of her head. She is also a host of many amazing programs live through Geek Insider. Today, everyone watching this program will get virtual free hugs and spanks. It's time to get on with the show. Welcome to Freaky Friday. Music provided by the YouTube Audio Library. Produced by Silent Partner. Song name, Tied Up. Warning and disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this live feed are those of the guests, speakers, and or hosts, and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs, official policies, ethics, or positions of the content providers, advertisers, additional hosts, and or guests, hosting sites, groups, or entities attached to this programming. Viewer discretion is advised. Meredith should be around shortly. I'm going to be talking tonight. And you can see I have my biggest fan here with me. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm kidding. All right. So we're going to be talking about how to engage with fans, not ones that you plug into the wall, but the ones that you sell to at Comic-Cons. This has been a topic that people have been asking me about. How do I deal with an adult-themed book? Also, I have a children's theme book and a general audience book. How do I talk to shows? How do I approach shows? How do I even deal with the fact that people, reactions, all the stuff that goes along with it, including how I wear shirts that say free hugs and spanks, even to the gym, as you guys can see. This is my actual gym tee. So for those who watched You're Not Alone when we went on our 400-day streak, over 400 days straight, you guys saw me wear this shirt probably a lot because it's one of the older short shirts that get tore up or get faded, and I start wearing them to the gym to continue to promote. I've also got a pin that says free hugs and spanks. So I'm always trying to be about the brand. Now, the brand itself, well, that can be troubling at times for me as a person, as a human being. I've been called a pedophile, a child predator, just for having this sign. Just for having this sign that says free spanks and hugs. And it's amazing to me because if a child gets the joke that is that sign, then the parent's up to something or doing something horribly wrong. You know what I mean? Kids shouldn't get that joke. Voice said that. So there is going to definitely be bias. So if you want to go out there and create an adult-themed comic book, there are some things you should know. I'm going to give you some tips on how I navigated, sometimes wrong, sometimes right, and all the stuff that I've been through. We got the fans going on because it's Florida and it's already 90 degrees, but I'm going to turn this one down. It's just being a little noisy. There we go. We'll have the other one. It sounds like it's rubbing on something. Sounds like there's a vibrator in the background. So, all right, let's start off. Cons are back. That's right, people. You're getting ready to go to cons. So signage is important. I've actually been redoing some of my signage myself. One of the things you guys can see right there, one of my old business cards, I'm actually updating that. I'll still use that because it's still current. There's nothing that's uncurrent on there. I just changed it around to make it look a little new. Some of this comes from the fact that Indie Advocates is no more, and of course we're comic book advocates. I didn't realize that we had spent the last year, as we did a name change, running out the clock on what we had left on the old site URLs. Those aren't around anymore. So now it's time to switch over to Comic Book Advocates. This, of course, means I have to throw out all the old cards, which don't buy cards in bulk until you know who you're going to be for a very long time. That's my suggestion. Comic Book Advocates, I used to hand out the cards at shows and all that. And it was funny because I had 2 cards. And this is going to be something you're going to deal with. Well, the minute you decide to make something adult-themed, you're going to struggle. And there are going to be moments where you almost can't have just one card. I know that sounds weird. Do I need a card for my Bobby Gregory book? I'm going to try to go with stickers more so on that. I'm not really going under an advocate right now. I look at it this way. I don't give a business card to a child. Parents who have a problem with me doing adult-themed material and children's material, that's on them, that's not on me. I don't let children read my adult-themed material. Same as an actor wouldn't encourage a child audience to go see them in their rated R films. They would, however, encourage parents to try to sit through their younger-aged properties. So you have to kind of come to the realization of how you're going to market it and understand that you're always going to be the person. I've tried to separate my names. I've tried to go under a nom de plume. I've tried to be something that I'm not. The truth is I'm complicated. I'm just the person who is complicated. And in fact, recently I started to experiment with that. You guys can see it. Here we are in my new image. This will be my new business card, sort of. There's a QRC code that I added in, and a little something here and there. I moved it around because it's going to be a card. When I'm done, you guys will see it. But here it is, and it's got all the normal stuff. But if you notice behind me in the devil shadow, that begins to say the things I am. If you look really closely, in the red, there's actual words too that I hid. And that's to kind of show that I'm there. One of the words that's there says fighter. And, it means that I'm going to fight for everything I get in life. That means I'm ready to go. There's freak written in there. There's daddy, because that's what I am. And I don't mean that in the weird way. I don't think daddy's one of those things that should be said in the bedroom, honestly. Outside of who's your daddy, there's autism advocate written in there. There's brother, there's uncle. This is to show that we're all complex human beings. And you have to realize that when you're going to the show, you're going to still be that human being. You're going to be who you are always. So you have to go out and you have to prepare. So when I talk to shows, I get asked the question because they see Barbara Unleashed. And remember, when I first started this journey, my book was called Fetish Babies. The Me Too movement came with a lot of consequences to that title, especially. So we switched over to Barbara Unleashed. The first chapter of Barbara Unleashed will always be named Fetish Babies. But even that, people didn't understand Fetish Babies. It was one of those moments where people didn't know what to make of it. Now, what most people don't realize is that there is a fetish where adults get to wear diapers. It's called age play. And people dress like kids. They're treated like babies. I don't partake in it, but I don't judge anyone else's kink. As long as it has nothing to do with an actual child, that's up to them to do whatever they want. I'm okay with that as long as it's 2 consenting adults. This is not Fetish Babies was not baby fetish, and there is even a baby fetish. And I always thought that was weird, but I'd have to explain the title. When I said Barbara Unleashed, suddenly I didn't have to explain. It was the same thing when we went by Written Sins. Everyone got confused and thought Written Sins was this horror company, and it wasn't. It was just every story is about a written sin, and it's what you have to do about it to further the story. So, the first things I did was I put up Fetish Babies on banners. We had the Sinful Comics. That was the company that my wife had while I was still married, and we were trying to. She said that she'd help, and not going to get into it. Just put it this way: it didn't work the way that I was sold about it. But we had Sinful Comics, kind of looked like the Reaper in Written Sins comics. it does stop people. The AnderSiN's logo has always stopped people, and people are curious. Senseful Comics, same thing. But we also had fetish babies on a couple of our marketing materials, and that would also draw nasty remarks. And I remember I was at this one show, must have been, I want to say the show was in Virginia. Yeah, it was definitely Virginia. And I'm just sitting around. They're being nasty, like, people to me, nasty pricks, to be honest with you. Little comments under their breath and all this. And you're getting mad because you're still a human. And you're taking these shots from strangers who don't know you from anyone else. They're saying these nasty things while they're walking away. And anyone who's worked in retail knows what I'm talking about. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I can't fight back because you'll get kicked out of a show if you start anything too big. It's not worth ruining your professional or reputation. So, pissed off me, had one of these signs, and I have it in the garage. They were all the rage a few years ago. It was those light-up signs where you could put the letters in it. And at the point, it said something like, "Meet the Indie Advocate." And I pissed off me, goes, all right, I'm done. So I just could not tell you exactly why. I had joked about giving out free Spanx to someone earlier in the day who offered free hugs, and I said, I'll trade you for free Spanx. And it just, I guess that just inspired me to just want to write free hugs and Spanx. Sign this big, lit it up because it had light, and it even changed colors, and we're off to the races. And in a show where I was getting nasty feedback, people were starting to, like, it was like a bat signal for the freaks, and they started coming to talk to me. And a show that would have been awful suddenly became rather good. And it went from a bad experience to a good experience because I let that out. But I found a way to put the material out in a way that wasn't too suggestive. And it sucks. It really does. I've walked around show floors. I've seen artists have nudity in their art hanging up. No one says anything. Girls twisted in sexual ways, sexual poses, if you will, suggestive materials all over the place. But because it was mainstream stuff, no one cared. So you guys are going to see in here some of the images like that. Even if you look towards the bottom center, right under Friday, that Barbara looking into the mirror, there's nothing about Barbara that is wrong. But when you see the reverse angle, see her butt when it's in purple. So there's the reverse angle when she's staring at herself and she has her ass out. I was asked to remove that. Funny thing is that there was someone right next to me who had sexually explicit art too. But because this was attached to a story about fetish, it had to be dealt with. It had to be dealt with. And you have to realize that. And as you guys can see in the upper left corner, it says fetish, monsters, and more. That's one of those things that's a kick me sign a little bit, to be honest. It is one of those moments where people, they see the fetish. They get consumed by it. And it's funny because I do have the conversations. And when someone comes to my table, I don't want to pitch my fetish book to anyone that doesn't want it. I want to be respectful. Consent's important to me. It's important for everything in the BDSM community. So I want that. And I don't want to just throw my pitches out there. So early on, I figured it out. And it's at the bottom right here of my poster. And I can point to this when it's in the air. See there? Fetish, monsters, and more. And it's on the other poster. Actually, Cat Dad's in the corner. I think I have it somewhere. So I have these two posters. So I can point to it and I go, I'm a creator of fetish, monsters, and more. And this shirt itself has it on the back too. And I'll go through the spiel. Hi, my name is Mr. AnderSiN. I am the unboxable advocating creator known as the Indie Devil or Comics Devil, which I'm going to start going by now. And I will say, who will tempt you with my devilish tales of fetish, monsters, and more. And then I'll look at them and I'll go, what about that? Or which one of those is your favorite? Or which one would you like to know more about? Or which one of those grabs your attention? And I'll be honest, a lot of people don't start with fetish. It's rare that they start with fetish, but a lot of people go back to the fetish. So it's one of those things where I'm very happy that I found that way. And you're going to have to. Meredith said she'll be here in just a few minutes. And by the way, this is an open mic. If anyone wants to come in and ask questions, please, by all means, feel free. So, as I was saying, we have this this ability to tell these stories in the indie market, but you have to find a way. So one of the things I learned right away, because I used to put up images. I started with one book. On my table, I had one book. Despite having different books, the earlier stuff I released wasn't really meant for commercial, but I put it in my flip book. And I printed the 11 by 17s, all original art, no fan art. And this year, I'm just getting rid of all that because I'm going to be teaming up with Mike Seeley, and I'm going to let him do the art. If he has a pinup he wants to do, we'll do a pinup that way. If he wants me to sell them, I'll sell his pinups. As long as it's original art for the Continuum Comics, I have no problem with that. And the characters we're creating through Continuum Comics. So I'm giving up all these prints, but we had prints where it was the hogtied bar where she's gagged, and that one I used to display because, again, people displayed severed heads, women with severed heads. That's okay. Violent depiction is okay, but if a girl's tied up and not showing anything, so it's a clever image where you really can't see anything. It hides most of it. You don't see more than you probably see at a beach, to be honest. Maybe even less than you see at beaches nowadays. So, that wasn't good. Now, there is one image that has become really, really important to me, and you guys can see that right on the right-hand side of your screen, dead center under the word paddles. That image right there has never really gotten me in trouble. People have asked about it. People love the art. I've heard that it looks like the Union Jack, the two girls kissing. I've had, a very rare person start to comment about something, but when they see me, they kind of stop. I can't stress this enough. You have to understand they're going to be idiots. I mean, I had someone in one of the shows look at my Free Hugs and Spanks sign and go, "Oh my God, that's so gay." And I was like, "What did you just say?" So people are going to say things, and you got to have a thick skin about this stuff. You can't threaten to beat people up. You can't get excited. You're going to have to understand that you're on display. I say it, you're a television set. When you're at one of these shows, everything you do is like you're at the zoo and people are walking by looking at you, and yeah, they're judging you. So that's one of the hardest things you have to learn how to do. And I was one of those people, I don't give a fuck what people think about me. But when you want to make money, you have to start giving a fuck. You have to start being approachable. And we're going to talk about my shirt in just a minute with this, as a matter of fact, speaking of approachable. So when I had all these pictures up, it drew attention, don't get me wrong. I got attention, but I also got negative attention. For the good, there was the bad. People complained, believe it or not. And the showrunners would come over and I walked the line. I never crossed the line. Like they would ask, "Oh, could you take this one down maybe? You can still sell it, have it in your book, but could you please take it down?" And I would. And we'll talk more about shows and interacting with them. I can't tell you how amazing it was when I finally came up with the Free Hugs and Spanks, made it a sign and put it up. This sells books. This stops people. This stops people not even into fetish, but because they think it's funny, they think it's a table worth stopping it. The Fetish Monsters and More, that it draws people and gets people's attention. See, your signage, if you're going to be doing adult material, you're going to have to find a way to put something up that engages people. Even having, like you can see right here where it says on my poster, oops, wrong way, where it says it's okay to be curious. That line has stopped people, and they have begun to talk to me about it. You can't see it there, but let me see if I can lift this up. Right there, there's more writing. It says, "Come discover hidden desires." And, you want to do that. Engaging posters that can be put out there that stop people in their tracks. That's what your signage is supposed to do. The images of yourself, notice mine are very small. I don't make myself the image. I don't need that kind of pat on the back. I've also updated my logos. I'll be switching them out over the next year. These wear out. They wear down. So I try to change them out when they need to be. But, you use the ones you can. And it's been 2 years since we've been on the road now. So I'm excited to get back out on the road and see what works. But the Free Hugs and Spanks has worked. The Cat Dad and Supermom has worked. Mr. AnderSiN has worked. And these are ways to interact with the audience without upsetting anyone. And like I said, I don't put up images anymore. The Barbara Unleashed one that I do have that you guys have seen, if you're a fan who's watched it, and again, it's that right-hand corner right there. That has always been a stopper. People see that and they stop. It's beautiful art from Satane Zillion. Presentation of your table too. Put out your books, but don't put them where the kids can grab them. That'll be big with parents. If parents see that you're lifting books up, get a rack that's a little higher, raise your table, put a tray on your table so a kid can't look at your books. Parents will appreciate you for that. Trust me. If you can make it look like you're trying to interact with adults only, even if your book, most of your table is just for adults and you don't have anything for kids, the kids will pass you by if there's nothing that attracts them. So don't try to attract kids. I have kids' books, so for me it's a little different. I have to play in both worlds. But if you don't have to attract them, raise it up, use your trays, get a tray that you can do, and put your book right on top of it. And always get a flip book or a display that kind of does that, where you can flip. You can get things at IKEA. I forget what they're called. I'd have to look it up. It's been so long. I think I actually got it on Amazon. But they're literal. Oh, you know what they are? They're tablet holders. That's what I got. So I got a tablet desk, and they're literally. Oh, I should have had it in here. They're literally just this thing that goes like that, and when you put them together, it'll hold a book perfectly, so you can skim through it. If you've ever been in a library, it's like that kind of half triangle together. Have that. So that's part of your presentation. Keep the kit materials away. But, your business card can reflect, and like you guys are seeing right here, the keywords are there, but I don't have to put anything that's that over the top. And that's what you want to do. You want to be able to hand something to someone that doesn't make them feel uncomfortable, because you do want to stress to be comfortable. And these signs right here, there you go. Barbara Unleashed, Fetish Monsters and More, AnderSiN's Comics, like all of this, like I'm not using imagery, I'm using words to promote. And those words work better than most imagery does. So now, shirts. So this is crazy. This is crazy but true. And I've tested it multiple times. I'm in Florida. Some of the shows are very hot down here, especially when they get packed. I don't like sleeves. In my personal life, I don't wear a lot of shirts with sleeves. I like this. It's got nothing to do with vanity. It's just my shoulders. I don't like my arms in there. I get all sweaty and itchy there if it's hot, and Florida's hot. When I dress like this, or I have a tank top on, because we have a Barbara Unleashed tank top, I make less sales. One of my friends looked at me and said, "You're sexualizing yourself." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And you look around, there's women cosplayers and all that. It's a little different when you're a guy. When you're a guy, you can sexualize yourself and make people feel uncomfortable. No, that sounds weird. Be mindful of that. Doesn't mean I can't wear the Free Hugs and Spanks t-shirt. It just has to have the sleeves on. For some reason, showing my arms, it's intimidating to some people. And it does. It makes me less approachable, and I have to be mindful of that. I know it sounds crazy. I do well when I wear this shirt. Whenever I wear my Jax's shirt, the orange one, I don't do as well, and it kills me. For some reason, the color orange. Truthfully, even when I wore the blue shirt for Indie Advocates, I did less sales. It's crazy. Then I was reading a report this week. Men are considered more attractive and approachable when they wear one of two colors, wearing red, wearing black. And I'll be honest, when I get dressed up, when I wear red and black, that's when I'm most approached. And so you'll see me probably wearing a little more red shirts with a black tie and all that. I'm telling you, it works. You'll see the Free Hugs and Spanks t-shirt, but it's black. So I've also done a thing where I'm getting rid of all the t-shirts. So for anyone who's been around me in the last 2 shows has gotten free t-shirts, I'm just blowing it out. Don't be afraid when you've had something for a few years to just get rid of it, make it an incentive, move it off your table. One of the things I did early on is, because I had 1 or 2 books, is I built up all this this display, because it was the retail background in me. Right now, I've got enough books where I don't need a display. As a matter of fact, I've gotten so many books that you can't even see it. We've got a spinner rack for when me and Mike Seeley are teaming up together. We're trying to find a way to find a kumbaya, because I don't know, it's funny because when an artist sets up the table, they put like their coffee in the corner, they drop their markers on top, and then they put out 2 books and they sit there and they draw. That's an artist table. A writer's table has the racks, all the works they've done. Even if an artist has comic books, they really don't display them on like a little easel, and it's only the book that's most recent. Because here's the hard truth: artists can make more. Hello, home from work. If you want to come on tonight, Trish, you're more than welcome. We're at a point now where an artist can make more with art than they can with comic books. Me and Mike were talking about this weekend, and this past weekend, he did an amazing job getting the Continuum. He made enough to cover his table with one single comic. That's a rarity. And I was very proud of him and very proud. But he's like, not focusing on the art, I probably made less money. So, it's a trade-off. And he understands the long-term investment that we got going on, but we're trying to make that work. That's why I'm going to be moving out some of my stuff. Because in Continuum, we're partners, we're trying to find that way to work together. Ultimate goal, of course, would be 2 tables when we get big enough, or have that if it's not 2 tables, go over to a vendor's block for all of the books that we have. But you got to take the baby steps. You got to slowly work your way up. So your presentation is going to matter. I will suggest, if you're going to do pins, and Trish knows what I'm talking about, and I don't know if everyone knows this or not, so I'm going to let you in on a little tip. Pull out the pin, because the pin going into your shirts will ruin shirts, especially if you want to dress nicely in a dress shirt and with a tie. As a guy, I can tell you that works. See, for me, I dress nicely, especially on Saturdays. Saturdays are a big day where I dress nicely. I always have the tie and the shirt on Saturdays. Saturdays is the big day. Sundays, I let myself have a little bit of I'll do the free hugs and spanks t-shirt, or because usually Sundays are kids' days, I'll try to go another route. I'll go a little cut down on it. Honestly, free hugs and spanks I try to do for Fridays. For some reason, Fridays are the best. But with this, here you go. Little tip for you guys: a magnet. So you just take the magnet. I got this idea from Star Trek. Watching Star Trek, I was trying to figure out one day how they got the comms to sit there, because they would just do this in the middle of the show. And I was like, how do they do that? And it took me a lot longer than I'd like to admit to realize it was just a magnet. They probably had a magnet right on their clothing right here, and it was sewed in there. So what days can I cosplay on? Cosplaying, look, cosplay is one of those things. And a woman, it's different. The rules of a woman seem different than a man. And that's just the reality from what I've seen. I can speak from a man. A woman, it really, women get away with a lot different women at cons get a lot more attention. I'll put it that way. You have a lot of fans who are awkward, who just can now have an opportunity to talk to females. I've seen that happen. I've seen women lean into it and to get attention, if you know what I mean, dressing a certain way. Cosplay is one of those things that definitely brings attention and is a good marketing tool, but it fails on guys. Guys don't really do as well. It's one of those things where, and I've talked to guys who do dress up, unless you're dressing up as your own character, which I have the cat dad mask now. I might try out a couple times. So I would suggest, Trish, cosplaying, especially on Saturdays, because that's where cosplay contests are, and everyone will see cosplayers around, so that'll be it. Sundays, too, a little extra gimmick will work. Always be comfortable, though, on Saturday. Don't cosplay in a way that will distract you from being able to work behind the table, because I've seen that become a problem with some fellow creators, too. So you want to dress appropriately. You want to be, when you're filling out submission forms, I wanted to talk about this, too, today, because everyone's doing submissions now. Be honest. Don't hide what you create. I've even offered promoters to read my book if they feel uncomfortable. I have a show coming up where I've been specifically asked to not put out the fetish stuff. So that means I can't put out the free hugs and spanks sign. I shouldn't put out the Mr. AnderSiN behind me, so it'll limit me. But we're also going to get a continuum banner. Me and Mike are going to wind up getting, so I'll have alternate banners. You have to be ready for that. If you're an only adult-themed writer, you're going to have to be okay with the fact that certain shows are not going to be comfortable with you. It's okay to be upset, too, because, you know, some of these things are ridiculous. They won't let your thing, but if you go to the show, you'll see things that you'll think are, well, why did they get in? And not everyone's adult themes books are like mine. Mine sticks out like a sore thumb. Free Hugs and Spanks, Barbara Unleashed. We lean into it on a couple of our covers. There are ways that you guys can fly under the radar. Well, what's your story about? Oh, it's about romantic relationships. Yeah, there could be sex in your book, but you don't have to necessarily tell them that. But if you're going to do something, you know you're going to have a Free Hugs and Spanks sign, don't act like you don't. Share your page. You know, and be open to rejection. I've been rejected from places, and it's never fun, but you have to understand it, and then understand they might be doing you a favor. So now another thing you want to look at is demographics in an area. Demographics are so important when it comes to Comic Cons. And how do you get demographics? You look them up. Go to Google. You'll find demographics of a town. You're looking for college students. You're looking for, if it's a family, the money that's made. College students usually are good for me when it's a lot of a family town. Here's the problem with a family environment. How can you tell it's a family? It's more rural. It's more suburbs. Cities are always better for me because cities mean that there's going to be more adults, younger adults, and you know, older teenagers, college students age. Those are what I do well at. Family shows not as well because even parents don't necessarily buy their kids comic books. It's an uphill battle, and some of that has to do with just the prices of trying to get into these shows. I was looking at a show today, and I won't tell you which one, but it was like $45 to be there on a Saturday just for one person. Now, if you want to take your family, that's you and your wife. I think the kids' tickets were discounted, so let's call them $15 each. So you and your wife alone is $90. You got two kids. That's, let's say, $30. That's $120 before you're even in the door for a day's worth of entertainment. And so you're going to have to be mindful of that stuff as well. So that comes back to your signage. Make sure your signage is good. Make sure you got keywords and phrases, because you don't want to just put out the sex. You don't want to just shove sex. And I know you're going to want to lean into it, but here's the difference. The guy who's got the Spider-Man print next to the Mary Jane where she's showing her ass or popping her boobs out, or she's half naked holding a towel, because that person has that Spider-Man next to him, people are going to be like, oh, well, that's a little racy, but whatever. It's just a pinup art, and they're going to get away with it. But because your book is more adult-themed, they're going to be like, oh, well, he's just trying to push that down people's throats. It stinks. So it is what it is. Trish says most of my costumes are Yoshi Princess fun stuff. Yeah, but remember being behind a table, those Yoshi Princesses, that's, if I'm not mistaken, those dresses can be a little bit wider, and trying to get in and out of the table could be problematic with that. Because you're going to have tight spaces. Some of these shows, you have to walk to use the bathroom. You're right on top of other people. And there are people who don't care anything about, there are definitely people who don't respect other people. And when I show up to a show, and Mike saw this, the first thing I do is ask my neighbors, hey, are you leaving that there? And you'll have people like, oh, that's just all the space we got. And I'm like, listen, I'm not here for that. I just need to understand things. And I called it. I see problems. You get used to it. And you have to look at traffic flow. For me, the Free Hugs and Spanks poster does so well. If I'm noticing we're having trouble getting traffic, pop that right up on a table. Right there. Here we go. Off to the races. So this year, what I'm trying, you'll see right here, is one of these these. I don't know if you can actually see it. So it's just a frame, and it's a metal frame. It's basically an art easel. Like it's meant to show posters and such. So I don't know if you can see that thing I just brought up. It's very dark in here. It's not the best thing. I could take a picture for anyone who wants it. Got an Amazon. Got used ones. Don't be afraid to get used, by the way. Used, refurbished stuff, it works really well. It has some dings and dents. Who cares? By the time you're done with 2 or 3 shows, you'll have dings and dents in it. That's the reality of it. Spend $20 for each one of them, and use great sign holders. This is exactly that as well. And I use, let's see. I don't have, I think it'll hold. All right, real quick, and I use clamps to hold them in place. And I use a gray, like this. And any of this that you guys want, you can contact me for. I'm happy to do it. So that clamp holds on to this display. And if I use the display, it uses a tripod leg thing. This cuts down on it, so I don't have to worry about that. It's easily taken. If I wanted to, I could pop the stand off the bottom. It's just 2 screws. And it can fit into a bag, so I can fly with it now. Because that's sometimes you're going to have to fly to a show. So your signage is so important. What I'll do is I'll take that, pop it up on my table, and because the way I have it set up, I can go 40, 50 feet, not 40. That's a little much. I can go like up to, I think we've gotten to about 12 feet in the air, 13 feet in the air. Those are the numbers that I was trying to think about. Because it sits on the table, uses the stand, and then we pop it up even more. There are times you can see it from any point of the show if there's a high enough point. Even like walking around, it's one of those big signs that people start to even notice at 3-4 day shows. So that's really awesome. So we're at 36 minutes. We're doing good on time. So always be honest about your signage. Know the show. If it's a kid's day and you have a little bit of a racy thing, take it down. Trust me, parents will respect the fact that you take it down, but it's not your responsibility not to go there and run a business. I am a big fan. Like Sunday is kids' day, but you don't have to worry every day, but you have to walk that line. And a lot of shows will tell you no nudity, no sexually suggestive stuff. And let me tell you right now, this is the reality, and I need you to understand this is the reality. Life's not fair. Don't expect conventions to be fair. Don't expect, remember, this is a room full of fan art. Whether you like fan art or not, selling fan art, it's not the most legal thing in the world. It's not legal at all, as a matter of fact. So if that's going on, you have to expect that there's always going to be kind of a blind eye to certain things. Here's the truth. I need you to hear this, understand it, put it in your mind and understand it. You don't want to stick out for the bad reasons. Like when people see my free hugs and spank sign, even if someone complains about it, the promoter will walk over, and I've seen it happen. A promoter walks over, looks up at my sign, and giggles, shrugs their shoulder, and walks away. Never has a conversation with me. Earlier in my career, when I have like the hogtied picture of Barbara, there was something that they wanted to have a conversation with. I've even had it where in my book, flipping through my book, I've had someone, I guess one of the people come over and go through it and ask me if I could remove one image from the actual book that you could flip through. And I know some people have naked pictures when they flip through. Some of the things I have on my table, I have to understand are a kick me sign. So you're going to have to understand that, know what it means, and know how to deal with it. If you're professional, you'll be left alone. And I have been left alone. There have been less problems than there have been problems. And that's because I'm professional. I don't start fights. If someone doesn't like what they see, I shrug my shoulders and say, sorry, not everything's for everyone. Not your flavor. And you have to be able to take the hits. I know that sucks to say out loud. I know some people are like, it's not fair. And yeah, you're right. It's not fair. But the one thing not sold at Comic-Cons is fair. Con crud, fan art, all those things you can get at a show. You can get awkward smelling nerds and geeks who don't shower exactly right. All of that happens. Bad hygiene happens at cons. Fairness isn't one of the things you're going to see at a con. So you have to be prepared for that, especially if you have an adult-themed book. Understand it is a kick-me sign. Like it or not, it's a kick-me sign. Even crowdfunding your books, which is the final bit. We've talked about being on the road. I hope I've given you guys some tips on how to survive the open world with the book that's adult-themed. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about crowdfunding and how crowdfunding can be difficult. This one's a harder one, right? Because people are going to report your ass. Even for things that aren't even right to report you. Barbara Unleashed, back in the day, Fetish Babies, we put out would have been the first trade I'd ever done, right as the Me Too movement hit. Anytime I shared it on Facebook, it got reported. And it was getting reported by so many people, and I had an actual group of feminists attacking me. People who didn't know me, making up things, talking about my book, clearly had never read it. I've been told as a male I can't write a female character. I can't understand a female character. I can't write about the sexuality of a female character. I've been told that my characters have to be more LGBTQ. I've been told that I don't have a right to be a representative of the fetish community. These are all things that people will say to you. They're going to, especially online. In person, you're going to hear less nasty things. Doesn't mean you're not going to get it. I'm in the South, and I can tell you in the South, there are loose lips and gums that walk. So you're going to have to be used to it. You're going to have to be able to take a hit. But online, it's so much worse. If you have adult-themed material, and here's the twist. You're going to see all of these guys with these covers whoring out their characters. Has nothing to do with them, but they're half naked. Nothing to do with the story. But they'll even make their characters nude on the cover. For the most part, no one really will blink an eye. But if you have an adult-themed book, whether it be LGBTQ representation, because I know I have friends who have dealt with that, having a fetish book because people think fetish is a sin. We had an artist drop out, didn't even read anything. This is how closed-minded people are. I want you to understand the closed-mindedness of human beings. Didn't even read a story because Barbara was in it, made an assumption about it, and wanted to have their art pulled. Fine. I don't want to work with closed-minded people. I don't like closed-minded people. Closed-minded people suck. So I'm happy to get closed-minded people away from me. And some of you got the continuum have seen the upgrade I got for an artist because of that closed-minded person. So cheers. So get rid of the closed-minded people. Don't harbor on them. There's so many open-minded people. You have to remember that. So your pitch is so important. Your imagery. If you don't share things on social media that are going to get you in trouble. I know you're going to say, but that guy does this and this. But that guy, look, that girl's boobs are pouring out of her shirt. Or that's that. Life's not fair. Stop trying to make it fair. It's that simple. You just gotta accept it. Do you want your stuff reported? Do you want to have problems? I've had people report me to me when I run my group, the Comics Newswire group. I had when we were doing, it was the last Barbara Unleashed. It was like the Make 100. I made 100. And we were doing like almost a garage sale of some of the earlier stuff. The stuff that was still branded Fetish Babies. Did okay. Not a lot of backers, but it was a collector's thing. So I made I want to say 1,300 from 40 backers, which was awesome. This was at the beginning of the 2020 last year, so you can imagine how much of a kind of, ooh, this is going to be a good year, and then, oops, it's not. But, I was able to print more books. Now I have books for this year, and I was able to print them and keep my printer going. That's actually why we did the Kickstarter for Cat Dad and Supermom. A lot of people don't realize this. I did it to make money to be able to help my printer stay afloat. And we printed the books. I used all the money we raised to print books. So I've got a lot of Cat Dad books, and then they went to Scout, and then we went to Scout. So you can imagine, I've got books. I've got books. So when you're online with, especially for me, a fetish book, I have to be mindful of the groups I'm sharing it in. I have to be mindful of the imagery. Now, you guys, and I'll show you one of the images. And this is one of the, and it will matter what you post. So I cannot stress this enough. So if you want to get in trouble, it's easy. You're going to find ways to get in trouble. So you want to push the envelope, though, you can be smart about it, because depending on what you do. So here's an image. Her full extended image shows her legs open. It's sexually suggestive, and I can get in trouble for that. Taking a little bit, zooming it in on it, having her sitting in the center and giving her dialogue, putting up written sins and free hugs and spanks, so people kind of got the idea of what I was going for. Her saying, "Do I have your attention now, or am I still wearing too much?" Made everyone think, well, what else could she be wearing? This was clever marketing. This, if someone reported it, broke no Facebook rules. You have to look at that. Zoom in on your character. Make it so no one can complain about it. Again, the imagery here, left side, dead center, Barbara sitting on books. There's a good marketing material. You know, don't use things that are going to get you in trouble. Again, on that bottom, we have Barbara as Catwoman, a cat suit, I should say, because she's not actually Catwoman. She's in a cat suit, which is huge in that. Let me see if I have a mentor search cover that I can share with you guys. This one actually causes us problems. And I've had problems with people reporting it. And it is frustrating. And I always think it you look at it and you're like, this is definitely just about the fact that this is about a fetish book. I'm trying to see while we're talking. If I can find that cover for you guys, Barbara Unleashed cover. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to upload this. Now, I won't show the other side of it. And I think this is one of the... I don't think I've ever shown this one publicly, believe it or not. So once it's done loading, you guys will be able to see it. So something like this... Wow, it must be a higher gig. It might not actually load. Oh, no, it did. Okay, so here we go. Barbara Unleashed. This was a concept. And at that point, I was making Barbara a cosplayer, and we are going to do a whole storyline with that. And there was going to be side stories, and I was going to have her dress as other characters to help promote them. But some people had a problem with her being a fetish character, so whatever. That didn't go the way I wanted to. It was a worthy experiment. But this imagery right here has gotten us in trouble because she's got too much boob showing. It's literally what I was told by Facebook, but I appealed it, and when I appealed it, I won. However, in the reverse, on the other side of the dual image, because we have it, and I won't show it now because I know Facebook gets pissed at it, when you see all of her butt, that's against the rules. I was able to get away with it because Barbara Unleashed is actually an educational tale. It has an educational aspect. That keeps me a little bit of safe, believe it or not, with certain things. So I was able to fight it. But even this is considered too far to certain people. Let me tell you, there are people who are going to be offended because of the way Barbara looks, because she looks too in shape or too thin, or that's not how a woman's supposed to look. And I go to fetish events, and I can tell you right now, I've seen women who look like that. And we spend too much time judging each other. So you have to be ready to pivot and understand it before you start. That's why I really suggest finding clever things to do like this. If you can find marketing material that works like this, keeps you a little safer, keeps it moving. You know, the fact that she looks like she's wearing something around her neck. Could that be a ball gag? You don't know. Could it be her collar backwards? You know, little things like that. Her outfit, you know. Making sure your artists do draw in good proportions is important as well. I made Barbara to look a certain way on purpose. She is a little, she's busty. She's got a good physique. But there's also an aspect of her talking about going to the gym in the books and her staying in shape, because part of BDSM is People don't realize that people will work out. They'll do yoga so they can play a little bit more. So there's aspects to everything that are important that you can use to help market your materials. You're going to have to understand that you're going to have to kind of take a step back and not just throw it out there any way you want to. And here's the final point of tonight. We've gone through as much as I can think to tell you. I'm hoping it helps some of you. The last part is having fun. Don't let everyone ruin it for you. There are going to be people who want your product. It's your job to go out there and find those people, not convert anyone. Go out there and interact with the people. I cannot stress this enough. Do not try to change someone's mind. If someone tells you they don't like what you're creating, accept it, thank them for stopping, and send them on their way. Never try to convert someone. You are not at shows to convert someone. You want to convert them, get your book into as many hands as you can. Because I can tell you this, when something becomes popular, we have a conversation about it. 50 Shades of Grey. No matter what you think about it, no matter what I think about it, I personally dislike it. One of my pitches for the Barbara Unleashed is if 50 Shades was written by an adult who knew what they were talking about. Let me tell you, people giggle at that all the time and appreciate the humor of it, and it sells books. Despite all that, that book started a conversation. The only problem was that it also brought out the bad in the conversation. And I get that, and people had every right to point out things like it was really more of an SVU episode about this rich guy taking advantage of a young, naive girl. And I saw it too, and my book actually talks about other aspects about that. So I get it, but it being mainstream at least started conversations. So if you're making your book to change minds, step one is to get it to become in everyone's hands you can. Step two is to become popular enough that people start talking about it. I can tell you this, people talk about Barbara Unleashed. It's the one thing I miss about going to conventions. My site, barbaraunleashed.com, got so many views after every show. Because why? People took pictures of that sign. They shared it on social media. After I did a show, I'd have friends tagging me and, hey, Rob, look at this person posted your sign. This person is a fan of your work. I wonder if they bought your book. And a lot of times I was like, I don't think they did, actually. Kind of sucks. So, let me see. Okay, so here, this is the original, and I'm going to show it to you guys right now. So here's my original site, Fetish Babies, which I still have. I actually have to look at this. Oh, it has comic book advocates. So apparently it was going to the wrong place. I don't even know if Paddles is still open now because of the pandemic. I'm hoping it is, but like, it'd be sad. Yeah, see, not authorized to view. So I wonder if I have to reach out to my New York friends and see, because it's not coming up now. Pandemic's definitely affected the fetish community throughout the United States. I'm hoping it's one of those things that recover very quickly. But, you know, you can see it even here. And apparently I have AdSense still on this site, which I didn't even realize. So if you go to this page today, you guys can see, literally, Fetish Babies, the whole point of it is to give you the first entry without the art. This is the story that starts the entire series. And if you guys have read Barbara Unleashed, you'll know that this is just basically the same story. There's little changes here and there, you know. I won't lie, there are definitely some changes. But for the most part, it is the same. And I am really curious. Let's see if Paddles is still open. We'll just give it a quick look. I thought about this the other day. Yeah, no, see, it's saying not authorized to view this page. Let's see, Paddles, New York City. Maybe they're just updating it. Oh, yep. It says, look, opening soon. Oop. It says opening soon. Facebook. Ooh, local business. It's on Facebook now. Let's see if it's really. There we go. Yeah, I don't know. Their website's down, but it says it's open, so. I don't know why it says I'm not authorized. Let me check in my other browser. But yeah, so you guys can go and check it out if you're curious about what I was talking about tonight. So that's the Barbara Unleashed beginnings is at fetishbabies.com. And I'll always do my best to keep this site open with that first entry because, of course, the whole point of her story is that she's writing a blog in that first issue. So I'm pretty proud of what I've done with the book. So if you guys want to check it out, that's all for free online. Yeah, I can't get it. Won't open anywhere. I even tried to not do it on my, because sometimes, so here's another thing that happens. Sometimes your sites can wind up being tagged and you have to fight it because they'll try to call it pornography. And it's weird because it doesn't block it everywhere. You get blocked on certain servers. We had that originally with Fetish Babies. And one final thing, and this goes to all creators, don't be afraid to Google yourself. So a lot of times I'll do like, here we go, Fetish Babies, let's see. And more than likely, we're going to come up, see, it does Fetish Baby, because that is a real thing. So I do Fetish Babies. Here's a Kickstarter. 10 things you didn't know about adult babies, Fetish Babies YouTube. So there we go. But if I do Barbara Unleashed, and the reason I suggest doing this is sometimes you'll find that someone's taken some of your stuff. I've done checks like this and seen someone actually trying to sell the art from Barbara Unleashed. So I'll go through here. Sometimes I even do image checks like this, and I'll see if there's anything, and I look where it's coming from, like that's Twitter, okay. That could be me, okay. That looks like me, okay. Here we go, Kickstarter, that's fine. So right here, this one, that looks a little weird, right? Why is that there? But it does still say facebook.com. So, you know, probably someone just shared something for me. So, and you know, if you don't trust a link, I always suggest copying the link and then putting it in like a notepad or something, and then putting it out there, and then edit your link and see what it is. So this link actually is from, let's see, it is from Facebook, so it's probably just a post that I did that someone shared, but they shared it all the way in whatever country that this originates from. UCWrittensins.com, Tampa Bay Comic-Con has Barbara Unleashed. That's, or us being at Tampa Bay Comic-Con, I should say. We're there, and you can see crossover to different things. So Chuck's Raw Reviews, the first Barbara Unleashed, where he did a review on that. All right, so this one looks interesting. So really quick, let me see. I guess something about Invisible Man. Actually, it has nothing to do with Barbara Unleashed from what I can see. I don't know why its image was there. It's weird. Just randomly in a weird place now. Yo Books, Ken Quartz, Invisible Man has Barbara for some reason as an image for it. So random weird things like that happen, but that's why you should also be checking out your site. Oh, good. I didn't realize how late it was. All right, so yeah, that's it, guys. That's one of the artists from Barbara Unleashed, actually. That's the second artist, Tamatra Chekovich, and she did an amazing job for the second book, which was, of course, was Barbara's story of abuse. Of course, it was Aftermath, and it was a difficult one to write and try to get it right. And I've gotten great feedback. But if you guys have any more questions about this, feel free to contact me. But we hit our 1 hour mark. I can't believe I've been talking for. This is a subject I could talk about for days. That's why. So I'm going to leave you all. This has been Freaky Friday. I appreciate you all checking us out this evening, and I'll let you all see my Barbara Unleashed trailer on our way out. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, everybody. everybody. Welcome to the Barbara Unleashed campaign for the first time ever on Indiegogo. Barbara Unleashed is about a young woman's journey through the New York City underground, the fetish underground, in fact. This is Barbara. She's been through an adventure so far. Barbara's drawn to things that most would not understand or worse, demonize. She's been through a lot to this point. We're now on our third issue of Barbara Unleashed, named Mentor Search. She struggled a little bit, but she's finally found her way back. She knows who she wants to be, and she's out to regain what she feels was stolen from her in Aftermath. And she's finally made her way to where she belongs. Back this project to explore the darker instincts of humans. And remember to give those you care about free spanks and hugs. My name is Mr. AnderSiN. I am the creator of the project, and I want you to come on this journey and know that the book is not just entertaining, it's not over-sexualized, and it's about BDSM culture and, more importantly, the humans that have fetishes. Thank you for checking out this video. Music provided by Ben Sound. Hi,